Wednesday, everybody. Happy Wednesday. I am excited to be on a Wednesday. I'm trying to go live. There we go. All right. So we are going live on both Instagram and YouTube. If you guys are watching via YouTube, you guys already know the drill. I see some of you guys are already there. Go ahead and put where you are watching from in the comments. If you're watching on YouTube, welcome. I mean, on Instagram, welcome. You can go ahead and put where you are joining from. Hey, Dinaka. Hello, Confessions of a Reality Queen. Thank you guys for joining. Very, very special show today. My co-host, looking for my co-host. He's not here yet. You guys know that Scorpio Moe and myself, we do these conversations. And tonight's conversation, we have a very special guest in the house. Can't wait to bring her up. But I want to say, first of all, you guys, I am so excited. Did you all hear the news that Ashanti and Nelly got engaged and they announced they're having a baby? I love that. I love when love wins. And so I just wanted to give them a shout out. Not only did Ashanti and Nelly announce their bundle of joy is on the way, which a lot of us already knew, but they also chose a Black media outlet for the exclusive, which is a really big deal. Very, very big deal. So anyway, I just wanted to shout them out tonight as we get ready to have this conversation with one of the ladies that we have watched all season. We have had so much admiration for the way that she carried herself on this show, but we have some questions. So I'm going to go ahead and bring her in. I do not see Scorpio Moe, but I am certain that he is going to be joining. So let's go ahead and bring our guest on. We have the very, very beautiful Vanessa joining us tonight. Hey, Vanessa.
Hi, Christal. How are you?
I am great. I'm loving that background. It's very like earthy and
Thank you. All my plants, my little jungle.
those are real plants.
Mm-hmm. These three aren't, but all the rest of them are. Yeah.
Okay, nice. You have a green thumb. Okay.
I'll be trying.
Well, like I said, we're first of all, thank you so much for joining us. I waiting on my co-host, but thank you for joining us tonight. We have watched you all season. We have also watched you. Basically, you did something that was very unique this season, and you talked through the experience with your life coach, which I thought was really cool. I think we see a lot of cast members are definitely doing interviews. We had a few of them on here before the show was over, but it seemed like you made it very, very, you were very intentional about sharing your journey in a very positive and therapeutic way for others. So where did the idea to do that come from?
I think, honestly, I went into it thinking I was way more prepared than I actually was to do it because she's actually a dating and relationship coach. So I saw, like, I started to take her course after I divorced, and I was just trying to, find some best practices and be better at dating. Mm-hmm. And so when I went through the show, although I felt like I had all these tools, I thought I would do well. I thought I would excel. I'm like, well, this is a perfect opportunity. And then it didn't go quite how I imagined it going. So I was like, oh, and I had told her about it and she had supported me, in going into it. But I was just thinking like, well, maybe this would be an opportunity for us to just kind of go through what I did wrong, because, even my own experience can be a learning lesson for others. But for me, like, so how can I do better? Like, she's not here with me live dating other people to tell me like, don't, I'm always, if I go back to her and tell her, well, this is what happened, she's still having to pick apart based on what I'm saying or my version where I missed it. And so I'm like, well, we could real time just go through where I messed up. It was initially just supposed to be me and critique on me and, just helping others if they're in similar situations or dating in the same type of way. But I wasn't in the first episode. So then we just had to pivot to kind of recapping what was happening and dating practices for everyone. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's where it came from. I was just like, I still need help. After the process, I said, I still need help. So look at what I did and let's talk through it so I can be better moving forward.
Well, I gotta again commend you on that because I can relate. When I heard your story, I watched most of your episodes, and after I went through my divorce, I was like 31, well 32, and man, I was just like I had a lot of pain and I wasn't sure how to deal with it, and so I immediately went into therapy. I immediately got into a divorce care group, which
Me
I heard
too.
you did, and I was
Yep, I did that too.
because I tell people, I'm like, that was the best thing. And even to this day, I'm still friends with some of those people that I went through that with. But it was great because I was able to see that I wasn't alone. And, because when you go through, for me, when I went through divorce, it was very painful. And I just felt like nobody else understands. And so joining a group of people that, didn't look like me. I mean, there were like older white men and, just all types of people that all were experiencing that. It was very therapeutic for me.
Mm-hmm.
How long were you married?
It's an actual marriage, maybe 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, no, I appreciated someone saying that. And then when I heard that you were in that same group, I was like, oh, wow, that helped me so, so much. And I was, helping others get through it while you get through it was really good. And like I said, even to this day, all these years later, I'm still friends with a lot of the people I met in that group.
Yeah,
So,
I didn't even know they offered that. I don't know what made me like just seek out resources, but it's like you don't feel alone anymore. And you're right, because of just like the range of people that you see there. It's like I'm not alone suffering through this, and
mhm,
you don't feel so isolated.
yeah,
Even though you're going through the things, that people are going through these same things, and then you
right.
have your good days and your bad days. I did it twice.
Yeah, I
Because
did. I went to I did therapy, and you know what? The first time I did therapy, I had a white man, right? Because I was just like, I need some help. Like this hurts. I probably found the group by Googling it because I was just I couldn't talk to my friends. I just needed help. So I went online. So I had a white man and he was great, right? But I feel like I still after I finished the therapy, I moved and I needed help. And then I went to a black woman. And then I had a total different experience. And I think I had both those experiences at the time that I needed them, right?
yeah, yeah.
So anyway, kudos to that.
Thank
I
you.
want to get into this conversation, but I always say that I feel like Ready to Love is a mirror for the dating scene because before I got married a few years ago, I didn't really enjoy dating at first, but a lot of the things that you see online and you see people going through are the same thing that you're going through, or maybe you see something you understand why someone that you dated reacted that way when you are able to see someone else do that. So it's a great it's really a reflection, and I think it's helpful to other people to watch. So without further ado, I feel like my co-host is here. So let me bring Scorpio Moe in. Hey, okay.
Not the live rose. Appreciate
Hello.
it. Hey Mo,
Now,
how you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm blessed. Thank you.
Now, I'm sorry, y'all. I was running a little late. I actually had a saxophone player, but he had an STD and he can't make it. So I'm here. I just want everybody to know.
Mo,
I love this setup.
Yes.
is that
You
a
got two
bottle of,
glasses?
is that a is
Yes. It's two glasses. Yes. As a matter of fact, bottle of Bel Air. Continue on with the interview. I'm here. I'm listening. I'll jump in.
this is Vanessa. Oh,
Huh?
first of all, who was the glasses for?
Listen. First of all, this is for me and Vanessa.
Oh,
Now, I got a little red cup for you if you want some.
you know what? You know what? I'm not gonna do. We're not gonna do this on. This is not Vanessa. I apologize. We're trying to have a real Mo. Come on, Mo.
I love it. He's popping a ball for this.
Yeah.
He's got that. Is that a dozen roses in the back?
I love it. He doing it.
Mo, is that seriously?
Hey, as far as I'm concerned,
setup, Vanessa. This is not his usual setup. We all know that
she knows. She sees it. So, listen. As far as I'm concerned, this is a date. So you just continue doing what you're doing, Christal.
Oh.
He thinks he's on a date with Vanessa.
Y'all know how to treat a lady. I appreciate it.
There you go.
Okay. All right. People are saying I am not hating. I am just thrown off at the fact that there is a dozen roses in Bel Air chilling, and then I have a red.
Oh, there's a teddy bear right there too. Just so you know.
Vanessa. Okay, I'm gonna. He said, "Go ahead with the end." I guess you're not gonna participate.
No, I am. I'm getting stuff ready. You continue.
Vanessa, how did you end up? How did you? What was? I'm sorry. How did you end up with Ready to Love? Because we have heard from so many people that production reaches out, casting directors reach out. Had you seen the show before? What made you sign up for that experience? Specifically, because you were actually serious about dating. A lot of people, I think, get on there and they're really like just trying to get to the fame or get on TV. But it's obvious because you did all that work that you were seriously, you were trying to date with intention. So how did you end up on Ready to Love? Trying to date with intention.
Okay, I was getting my hair done. My loctician I was in a chair. You know how you talk in a chair. I don't know if she had got tired of me complaining or what it was, but she said, I think you need to go on this show. She's like, Tommy is coming out here and they have the show called Ready to Love. And, I'm like, oh, okay, probably not. But then she stops doing my hair and she pulls out her phone and she pulls up the link from Facebook and she sends it to me. So I'm like, okay, you're serious. So I said, okay, thank you. I'll think about it. And I was not going to do it, but I thought about it for a few days. And then one day I pulled up the application to just look at it. And when I looked at it, the application prompts were some of the questions that I had answered in the dating program that I went through.
Okay.
It was like, what are you looking for? And what do you need? And where are you? And who are you? And I had learned all these things and established them very recently. And so I was able to just kind of copy and paste the answers.
Okay.
And I'm like, so it didn't require too much of me. Like, I might as well just make an effort. And I just, filled out the application and I submitted it. And I heard from them, like shortly after I heard from them. And whoever did my initial interview was like, have you seen the show? I said, no, I haven't seen it. Well, I think you need to watch the show if you're going to try to be on it. I said, okay, what season do I need to watch? Because I don't have that type of time, but tell me where I need to start. And so she recommended, maybe the Potomac season. And she said Houston was a big season. Houston. So I watched the ones that she recommended. And then, from there, I progressed through the process and I was like, oh my gosh. So I'm like, this got to be a sign. I'm falling in love. I'm finding love. And that's how I wound up on the show.
Okay.
Did you have any reservations like leading up to it?
I don't think so. In my mind, I was going to kill it. I was going to smash this situation. My husband was waiting for me, like, because I hadn't like imagined myself being on TV or anything like that. I'm just like, for these things, like to fall into place, I just feel like it must have been meant to be. For me, I took it like, this is a sign. This is where I need to be. This is an open door I need to walk through. And so I didn't really have, I guess the normal nerves, but, I was optimistic. I'll say that.
So, Vanessa, Princess BC's, thank you for the super chat. She says, Mo is committed to the pursuit. Go on a real date with him, Vanessa. We are going to let Vanessa live right now. There's incense burning. Is something on fire? Is something on fire?
No, I don't have no incense. Incense is cheap. Vanessa's not cheap.
What is?
It's my cigar.
Okay, because it's a lot of smoke. Okay.
The smoke don't bother you. This don't bother you, Vanessa. Do it.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Because I'll put it out if I need.
Vanessa, what were you encountering in the dating pool before you signed up for the show? Because you said you were talking to your loctician and she was, you guys were going through, I guess you were complaining to her about what was happening. What were you encountering and what did you believe that you were looking for before you signed up for the show?
A lot of dishonesty. Yeah, this guy took me out. He offered to pick me up. He wanted to be a gentleman and he had a warrant. We got pulled over. I said, oh, why would you set me up for this? I could have drove. And I just had like all these like.
So wait a minute, did he get arrested?
No, he didn't. But, the police officer was just like, I see you trying to have a good time. She looks lovely. I ain't gonna press you like that. But I mean, he pulled him out the car.
That's the only reason they ain't lock his ass up, is because of that. Because you.
Yeah, I think so too. He was trying to just give him grace, like he said, like, your night is going well. Like, I'm not trying to mess this up for you. But he pulled him to the side and had a little conversation with him. But I was just like, one, you didn't have to drive me. I get that you wanted to make it look a certain way, but I would have rather just driven myself, and we could have still had a nice date. Like, if you knew that was potentially going to happen. And I think just like the climate of the country, I'm like running into the police on a date. Mm-hmm. I just don't want that for myself.
I don't want that for you either.
Thank you. I didn't like it. I'm like, oh. And then what else? Like,
how are you meeting people?
Great question.
I was on a dating app.
Oh, you were? Okay. Okay.
Yeah, this person I met on a dating app. Yeah, that's how I was meeting people. I mean, I really don't go out very much. So, and people don't holler at me at work. So it's just
people
like
don't holler at you at work. See, I would think because you're airline, you're
a flight attendant,
airlines, right? So a flight attendant. So I would just assume that you meet a lot of people that get on a plane, they see you, and they're probably just like, "Hello," like.
No.
That's shocking.
Yeah. Okay. And even in person, a lot of people don't speak to me. I don't know if it's my face, like resting. I don't know if I got a face, like.
I don't think it's that, Vanessa.
Attitude, but yes, it's really difficult. And online dating was so overwhelming. You hear from so many people,
Well, what it is like, if people see you in person, a lot of people will assume that you're already in something, right? And the people online, they just figure, well, if you're online, you're in the dating pool, so you're here for dating. So they're assuming that you are single. But the other people, a lot of times, I guarantee you, they assume that you have somebody.
Well, are you smiling? Because Vanessa, we talked to we do dating tips. Well, I don't know if we're going to do that tonight. I don't know what's happening today, really. But when we usually do dating tips, and one of the things I've said to women, because I think men probably are more not intimidated, but they are sometimes aren't sure what to say. I'm trying to change words. So are you someone that when you're out, if you see a guy that you think is attractive, do you smile? Do you seem very inviting when you're out? You seem like you smile a lot.
I do smile a lot. I started this thing in high school.
Okay.
Because I had an insecure boyfriend, and it was like if I looked at somebody, it's like they got action. And so I learned to just shift my eyes down and just to be polite and respectful of my relationship and not to cause no static. I would just shift my eyes down. And this is something that I've had to practice very recently not doing, is like making eye contact and being inviting. But I would do my best to not be inviting, because sometimes I would invite attention that I didn't want, or would give somebody the inclination that I was interested in them in a different way. And so, I try to be, but because it's something I'm still working on, I don't know that I'm giving, come get me eyes. Like, sometimes I'm just, sometimes I'm looking, but you might got a booger. I'm not looking because I want you. I'm just trying to look around and be aware of my surroundings. But if you lock eyes with the right one, and it's like, your whole night is, they trying to take up your whole evening. And so I don't know, it's kind of new for me, navigating the dating space and what I should be doing and how I should be giving energy to people. I try to be friendly though.
You just keep doing what you're doing.
Pardon?
Just keep doing what you're doing. That's all. Don't worry about it.
Yes. And it's interesting what you said about how you changed your behavior though to fit someone you were dating, and then those behavior patterns sometimes are hard to shake. That's very, very self-aware. So you guys are doing some good work. Okay, so let's get into this. Let's get into the show. So you make it to Ready to Love. You guys have a mixer where you're in the second group, right? And so when you're introduced, what are you first thinking? Because I think a lot of times people say that men are, more visual, and I think that men are visual, but I also think, women, we like to look at something nice as well. And so when you first get to the mixer, what are you thinking? Who are you initially like, okay, who is that? What are your thoughts when you first see everybody?
The first mixer, I think Alonzo came in first. He was cool. I like that he had dreads. I think in my mixer, I think I found Jonathan to be the most attractive.
Okay.
But Jonathan never spoke to me. So so that was that. Yeah, I think in the first mixer, I was most drawn to Chaz. I just like the conversation. I like what he had going on. I like the things that we had in common. But physically, I would say that Jonathan in my mixer, I was most attracted to.
Is that like more your type? What is your type? Because I feel like I asked that.
Yeah, I don't know that I have like a physical type per se. Yeah. Okay. Jonathan, he put me in the mind of Lance Gross a little bit.
I can see that.
Yeah. And so I was like, he's handsome. But yeah, no, I don't necessarily have a physical type. Okay.
That's actually probably going to work to your benefit, because those of us that do have a type, it's rough. It's rough. But I got some video of Lance Gross in here. I just want to pull it up. I just saw him at a few weeks ago. I just want to remind the ladies out there what Lance Gross looks like. You don't mind, do you, Mo?
Go on and get it over with.
Just want to make sure that we're all aware, because this is a good reference here. Just wait a minute. See that?
Like maybe not exactly, but I feel I see a little resemblance. A little bit.
Nice. Jonathan is a nice fella. However,
but this one. Yeah. This one right here.
Just wanted to bring some clarity. Just wanted to bring a little clarity to the show tonight. Okay, so no, he's I get that. Jonathan's a nice looking guy. So initially you were attracted to him, but you and Chaz, obviously, I'm not gonna lie, the first when you guys first connected on screen, we have been talking about the show from the very first from the very first episode. So when we saw initially the connection with you and Chaz, I was like, they look adorable together. It seemed like there was just real organic chemistry between the two of you guys. And I honestly thought, like, I think the only other couple I felt like that about was Vernisha and Joel. Vernisha from Houston, actually, and Joel. They like first date, they connected, and it was them throughout the season. Like Marriott says, we thought it was 100% legit. So were you thinking to yourself, this is going to be it when after you and Chaz were talking initially?
I knew that I knew that we were going to meet more people. We had to meet more people. So no, but I was pretty set on, okay, I'm into what he got going on. Yeah. Like it was like in our initial conversations, which it wasn't just one-on-one conversations, but just hearing him talk in groups or whatever. He's from New Orleans. I love New Orleans. I love the culture, the food. He said he traveled. He said he read. He said he had plants. All of those things are like right up my alley. And then I was also like in a space, coming out of the space where I was trying to figure out myself, like my religious beliefs, from my own personal religious beliefs, and not ones that were just like imposed on me. And so I grew up Christian. And one of my really good friends now, she's Muslim. And so I've spent time with her family. And then another best friend of mine from way back, she's Vietnamese, and she was on a journey. 2020, COVID had me sitting down and reading and just learning. And so one thing he shared with me in our initial conversation is that he grew up in the church as well. I think his parents were pastors, but he said he had read through the whole Quran as like an act of rebellion. But I thought that was so dope. And he was very open to me expressing that I do believe in God, but I'm still on a journey figuring out, where I am. And he gave me a lot of grace in that. He just seemed really understanding. And so I really liked that about him too.
Okay.
Yeah.
No.
At what point? Chaz was in your mixer, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Was he in
The
there?
first one.
And which mixer was Don in? Was he in the same one or the first one?
Don was in the other group, so I met him after. I met him at the brunch. So
Okay.
our group met, his group met, and then there was a brunch where all the groups met, and that's when I met Dominique.
Okay. So was there anyone else in that other brunch that made it, other than possibly? I mean, obviously we know Don. But was there anyone else in the other bunch mixer that caught your attention as well, or that was just it? Just Jonathan and Chaz.
Oh, again, I thought Jonathan was handsome, but we did not talk. There was nothing like
didn't say anything to her.
It was just an attraction. If I'm talking about like, oh, he's attractive, but there was no we didn't talk. I thought he didn't like me. I was certain he voted me off that night when I was up for elimination. I was like, it had to be Jonathan.
Oh, wow.
Because everyone else I had a pretty good conversation with. So I was kind of taken aback that I was up. But yeah, it was really just Chaz. It was really just Chaz in the first one.
Now, it was interesting that the first couple of episodes, there was a lot of conversation. You and Chaz weren't a part of any of the foolishness that we saw, but did you hear there was a lot of sexual conversation brought up? Like initially, like, obviously Lamar and Alonzo, there was just a lot of sexual conversation happening. Were you privy to any of that, or did you overhear or see what was going on? I think there was mention of like threesomes, and there was
She was in one.
Mm-hmm. Right, Lamar.
Yeah, Lamar.
I went on a date with Lamar at the brunch. Yeah, there were like a couple of moments where like people had touched me, and I was like very like and it probably wasn't inappropriate, but just where I was, the space I was in, I didn't want to be touched. So I was very uncomfortable with it. But fortunately, other women were experiencing discomfort with the men being aggressive or being touchy. So we actually had that night at Chaz's house where we had that group date. Prior to everyone arriving, we had a conversation, and Chaz was like, I promise I'm not going to touch you or, make you feel uncomfortable. We kind of had like a conversation that wasn't aired, but then we sat down and had a round table where we talked about Alonzo and the disagreement between him and Koshia. And he kind of just promised, I will never do that. He asked before he hugged me. Like he was like, I'm always going to be very respectful. I'm never going to make you feel uncomfortable. Please let me know. Like, and so, yeah, there was a lot of discussion that wasn't shown about how we wanted to be treated and respected, our bodies to be respected in this process.
Now, was this conversation between the ladies and Chaz, or were all the men privy to it?
So I was asked if I minded having the conversation. I imagine in case they decided to air, what was going on, that if I was comfortable having that conversation with Chaz to kind of set the tone for what would be moving forward. So that was just between the two of us. Then the round, like when we were on the couch, we all discussed it. Okay. And then I believe Tommy had another conversation with the men separately all together.
Wow.
Prior to the pajama party.
Interesting.
Even prior to that, to where the situation happened with Jonathan and Alexis?
And still.
Wow. That's crazy. That is crazy. That's crazy that conversation was had several times, and then that situation still happened. Wow.
Now I believe Jonathan was drunk.
Well, we believed he was drunk anyway, but I don't believe that, drunk is not an excuse.
No, definitely not.
Drunk is not an excuse. So, and then also, but I just want men to know, and the reason that I love the way we do this with Mo and I is because we both, obviously have a female perspective and he has a male perspective. And I think a lot of times that men do not understand how uncomfortable it can be when a man, because it's just it is just, if you have not invited that energy. If it happens because maybe he's attracted to you, or even like you alluded to earlier, Vanessa, if you look at someone and they think that is a come get me look, it can become very uncomfortable. And I think that women have to do a better job of being vocal when they are uncomfortable, but I also think men have to do a better job of being sensitive to that and understanding that until I have a verbal, conversation, I should not put my hands on someone. And even conversations are uncomfortable because, and this is not to beat up Lamar, but the conversation that he had at that double date with Patrice, where it was like, oh, I got to put, like, it just, I've experienced that. I'm sure every woman watching this has experienced someone saying something that makes them feel uncomfortable, and you don't want to come off like, you don't want to make them feel bad, but you also are just uncomfortable. So you try to pivot and he doesn't pick up on it. And it's just uncomfortable. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. No. And I don't have a daughter at this point. Oh, I'm sorry. Were you talking to Mo when you asking that? Were you asking that question?
No, I was speaking to you, but I think I don't know what Mo's doing down
there. No, I was about to chime in on that to give you a parallel so men can understand. And I think the thing is, and I hope people understand where I'm going with this. Don't take it the wrong way. But if you tell a straight man, and there was a gay man, they came on to him the same way, unwarrantedly to a straight man. Now a man gets it. You understand? Now a man would get it and be like, "Oh, okay, that's what that feels like." You see what I'm saying?
I understand that, right. And I did take responsibility for not speaking up in the moment. So the moments that I can recall where I was uncomfortable, I did in the aftermath go back to these people and let them know, hey, that made me uncomfortable. And they were apologetic. But like, if I have a daughter, I'm going to have to teach her early because it doesn't have to be uncomfortable. It is uncomfortable because I personally don't have the practice of saying, hey, did I say you could touch me? Like, you don't want to make it weird. Then you're on TV. You don't want to make a big deal. Like, maybe it wasn't that bad. Perhaps it was accidental. All of these things are going through your mind. And sometimes you just let it slide. Mm-hmm. But allowing it to slide when people are the type that are doing that test and see, try it out, means I got action. Yeah. And so that's one thing. But another thing that I had to own is that my trigger played a big part in making something innocent, feel inappropriate, right? Because
what do you mean by that?
Like any sexual trauma will cause you could poke me and I might be like, I might freeze up, or you react in a way that's really unnatural to a kind gesture. You're just guiding me up the stairs or whatever. And so I wanted to take that into account, but it's really hard because you don't know what people have gone through.
Right.
To say that was okay when I did it to that elderly woman crossing the street, but when I touched Vanessa's hand, she spazzed, Mm-hmm. So it's just really hard. And I think, having consent in any situation, it kind of sounds over the top, but it's the best way to not get into spaces yourself or with people that you care about, that are just that are uncomfortable.
Yeah, I agree. And I will tell you, like, I think I told Mo, because Mo and I have been friends for over 20 years. And so when I first went through my divorce, he was one of him and another guy were the guys that were they just really helped me to not go into a deeper place of just depression. But we would go out, right? And because I had just got back from separating from my husband, and we would go out, and I would try not to just, because I'm here with Mo and this other guy. They're both 6 feet, and I'm just like, they're gonna mess up my game. Let me just go over here by myself so I don't be around them. And I didn't want to mess up their game either. But I would tell them, like, when we're out, I hate when a man you're walking past and they just reach out and touch the small of your back, like you need help walking by. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm good. Like, that drove me crazy. Yeah. I'm like, and you remember me telling you that, Mo, like, why are they helping me walk? I know how to walk. Like, I'm walking by.
Like, we're not squeezing through a little doorway. Like, It's like so much space here. You
And
gotta.
even if I was squeezing through, your hand on my back is not helping. Like, dude, I don't understand. See, Miss Jazzy Ekpat says, I hate that so much. We don't
It
like
happens
that.
a lot here in Atlanta.
Can you go back and tell the group of men that we don't like that?
We're not into it.
Me, yes.
All right, let's get back to the show. So, Vanessa, I have to ask you this because we had Dominique on the show. We also briefly had Chaz and LaRon, and even from the reaction of that night, right? Of you guys were on the group date at Chaz's house. What exactly was Chaz's home? To where the women, what we heard is there was a reaction from the women that, this house must have been, I don't know what type of house this was, but it obviously left a extreme impression
right.
on the ladies. So I'm just wondering, because it did look nice. Dominique said that he did have throw pillows, which we know men usually don't have accent pillows and things like that. But for it to have the impression on the rest of the cast that it did, and even Chaz said that the women started to treat him differently once they came to his home. What was this home? Was it a magical castle? What was this that Chaz has?
It was a decent home. It was a decent home, but it was I mean, I wonder if it's like just in comparison to how some bachelors have not settled with living, but it's just like more often than not, you're gonna see a single woman set her home up to be very livable because that's her space and that's her peace. And I don't know, like sometimes men, they seem kind of like minimalist, or I don't know, but maybe they just don't need much. But Chaz had a nice home. I mean, for the area, I don't think it was uncommon. Like it wasn't like some, it for that area, like it was like a standard home for that area, but it was nice. And considering this man did not have a family, it was interesting. Like, Coach Shia and I stayed after, and when they were talking, he expressed that he decided to get such a big space because he wanted to have something of significance to present to someone's father if he wanted to ask for a woman's hand in marriage, right? And the forethought was like, okay.
You ain't falling for that.
Well, that must be because Patrice mentioned numerous times that Chaz had created an environment for a wife. And I do feel like as a woman that remembers dating, and I remember, I'm so thankful that my honey came and rescued me, because I remember meeting people, and you go to their house after a while, and then there's not adequate hand towels, or I don't know what's happening. There's always a couch and a TV, and then usually like some black lacquer or something very, very stereotypical, but not a lot of towels or just
necessities.
Yeah, necessities. And so I do understand. And I remember going to my husband's house for the first time, and he was single. He had custody of his children, but he actually just had a grown man's home with towels and adequate sheets and comforters, and even pictures on the wall. They might not have been the pictures I would have chosen, but they definitely were tasteful, and I was impressed. So I understand that. But the way that Chaz said, yes, Mo.
Can I say something? I mean, some guys only get what's necessary, right? And then some other guys, if they're into that and decorating or so on and so forth. And for the record, Vanessa, I got all that too.
Okay. All right, let me write that down.
But some guys just, it's bare, I've seen it, and hell, I experienced it when I was in my 20s and maybe early 30s. Like, but then after a while, you start to get, you get into it, and I'm into certain things, so you start to build from there. So I definitely get it, depending on how young. And Chaz is what, in his 30s, early 40s? I don't remember.
He's 40.
Chaz was 50.
Yeah, I didn't think he was anything.
I don't know why.
I thought he was 47. Is that correct?
Yeah.
47.
I think he was 47 when we were filming. So
okay,
he might be 48. Either way, I mean, for a person to not have children, like if you have children, you understand family, you understand people coming out. Somebody has already told you, like, this is what. But the preparedness in considering a family that that is not there yet.
Mm-hmm.
And the space that they would need, right, is like, okay, that's impressive. So for me, it wasn't, and his bookcase, like every time I watch y'all, I'm in Christal, I'm like, what she got now? Like,
I got a bunch more, girl. I got a hope, but I'm a reader, so I get that. But I was telling one of my guy friends that is single now. He's 52 and maybe 53. And I told him, I said, we need to get, I said, you
continue. Don't pay me no mind.
And for the record, 48 Laws of Power is the most stereotypical book.
Hey, I don't care what it is. It's my book. And
my point is, I told him he needed to have a bookcase because it just shows culture. So I agree with you. Let me ask you this, because again, Chaz made mention that a lot of the women started to treat him differently when they saw his house, and that there was a lot of conversation about his home. And I do think at 47, a man is probably in a much different place than a man that is 31 or 32. Man or woman, everyone's going to be in a different space at that age. Like Marriott says, is expected for a 47-year-old. She said the women were in a famine, so they were hungry.
What?
The fact that that's a line. I'm just going to keep it real. I prepared this for. Please don't. That's
not a line, though.
That is a line. I'm telling you, that's a line.
But listen to me. Hold on.
It's effective. Obviously.
What if it's honestly true? What if he actually was cognizant of the fact that he wanted a family and he wanted a wife, and he was trying to, again, if you want to catch chickens, you put down chicken feed.
That's why I said it was a set. That's not
a line. That's just being prepared.
See, the only issue that I have, though, is that you put that level of work and effort into preparing, and then you invite people to your home, and then you guilt trip them about being impressed by what you're offering up. That part is, I mean, I have seen a lot of things in my lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's a house. I see you. It's a house. I got a house.
Mm-hmm.
We have homes. We live in different ways. And I'm not being judgmental, because people make choices about what they want to do with their life and the way that they want to live and how they want to live their life. And I'm not one to box people in. So it was a nice house, but I've seen plenty of nice houses. I've seen plenty of nicer houses. I've seen smaller houses and older houses. It's just like, okay. But it's just like, could it be possible that he was looking for people to be very impressed with his home?
Thank you.
It definitely could have been. It probably was. So let's stay there with the house. Hold on.
So there was a situation that he had mentioned briefly when he was with us about him and Koshia there, and you possibly having a problem with her being there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know how true that is. If you want to, explain that, if that was even a scenario.
Yeah. So that group date, we had the group date.
Right.
When we were on the couch, he wanted to, he offered to show me the rest of his home and some art that he had upstairs. Oh. Now, for the most part, we were filming on the lower level of his home. So the producer said, hey, we've been here long enough. We don't mind if you do that, if you're comfortable with it, Vanessa. But we're going to wrap up and we're going to close and make it like everybody has left. And then you can proceed to go upstairs if you'd like, and you can stay after as long as you're comfortable. I said, I'm comfortable with that. So we wrap that scene, and then everyone says their goodbyes and starts clearing out. And, after a while, I'm inside the house and Chaz is not. So I'm like, maybe he's walking everybody out. But after a while, I'm like, okay, we're dragging it. So I went outside, and he was outside talking to Koshia. And when I walked up, it's like, oh, hey, Vanessa, and she's surprised that I'm still there.
Mm-hmm.
I think, I'm not sure, but either way, it's just like, well, I was just going to show Vanessa, the upstairs and some artwork, and come with us, you're welcome to come along. And so, he gives us a tour, and they get into this long conversation about home ownership and buying properties, because I think she's a real estate agent. Mm-hmm. And at no point does he ask her to leave. And I'm a quality time person. So I'm like, they have allowed us to have this time because you requested time.
Right.
And I thought at some point that he would, let her know that he wanted to spend time and that, see her out. And he never did. So at some point I was like, okay, well, I went to the bathroom, gave him a little second. I didn't know what they needed, but she was still there. So then when I came out, I'm like, hey, I'm about to head out. Now she about to head out. And I'm like, okay, cool. So we both walk out. My car is parked like on the street, like in front of his home, like maybe closer to the neighbor's home. And then hers is like directly in front of his home. So I got attitude at this point. I was upset because I just feel like it wouldn't have taken much to just say, hey, I asked to spend this time with Vanessa, my top connection. And I asked him like how he was connected to her. And he said, that they hadn't really even talked at the brunch. That would have been the first time that they met. And so they didn't have a connection. And so especially then, like I wasn't trying to get in the way, but for you to reiterate that there's nothing here. It doesn't make sense that you would give that time to her or not. What I was always looking for was the differentiation between being a top connection and being everybody else or not being a connection at all. And so he did often tell me that I was a top and that and I'm like, give this some definition, because when you have opportunities to show me that I'm your top or to act on what you're saying, you do something that makes me confused. So, yeah, I didn't let him walk me to my car. I had attitude, y'all. It was late. I was like, okay, but I just walked to my car and I drove off. And I assumed that she walked to her car and then she drove off. But there was just not a moment that we had any one-on-one time that I expected to have after that. So yeah, I was upset, and I did express that to him.
Okay. There was another comment made just on that and I can't remember which gentleman told us, but that either you said or someone called you the lady of the home or something like that, to where you had kind of taken ownership of the situation because maybe the rest of the ladies knew that you and Chaz were, you were his top connection. So do you remember anything like that about being called the lady of the home? Or
Oh, being called that? I don't know if someone else would have said that, but okay. I wouldn't have. I don't think I would have said it. Okay. I don't think I would have. I got my own home. I mean, this is the thing, and this was the issue that I had. It's like interest and connection, defining those words. Like initially there was interest, right? But that has to grow into connection. And at one point I expressed to him, like, at this point, this is like a baby spark. Like, I understand what we're supposed to be feeling for each other, but I'm not the type of person, like, you can't just give me nothing. I need something to grow. I need to be progressing toward this, like an initial interest. And I typically will do this. Like, I'm going to offer care up front. I just want to care for people. I want them to feel loved. I want them to feel wanted and welcome, but it still you have to feed that in order for me to, continue to feel that way or to grow in that connection. So, yeah, I don't think after visiting someone's home once, I'm going to call myself the lady of the house.
Right.
I don't know if, someone else referred to me in that way, but I don't believe that I would say that.
Okay. So let me ask you this, because you and Chaz had conversations, right? And I think the viewers were thrown off at the number of connections, and we asked him about that. But were you aware, at what point were you aware that he was literally felt like he was connecting with all the other women, except for Laylin, who went home early? But for him to say in the confessional that he had 11 connections, I'm just wondering for you, like, is there anything that he shared with you beforehand? Because when we first saw the two of you, it seemed like he was really zeroed in on you. Right. And yes, he probably found someone. Actually, I'm gonna be honest. I don't even feel like, and I've said this entire season, I didn't feel like he was a fit with a lot of the other women, just from his personality, what he showed us. It just seemed like you guys were a better fit. So to hear that he felt he had connections with all the other women, I'm wondering if there's something about Chaz that maybe we didn't see. Someone said that, you know, maybe he was the guy that didn't have a lot of attention early on. And Joshua McDowell says Chaz is like that dude in high school who didn't get a lot of attention from girls. And that's not a negative thing. I mean, there's people that bloom late or things like that, specifically when you have a lot of resources, you know, it tends to make things different. But I'm just wondering, why would he have connections? And were you surprised that there were connections with everyone?
Keep it real.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, like, it was interesting because Chaz would check in with me sometimes, like, of the women, who do you like? You know, he would ask me, like, who do you like? And I'm like, I love Rashina. She cool. Like, I really like Patrice. And, you know, I would share with him, and it was like, he's like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, no, I like her too. And, you know, it was just some weird thing where he would check in to see kind of how to feel about other people. Does that make sense? I will say that. And then I'll also say that one thing that's interesting is I don't know if he lacked clarity, or I don't know what the thing was, but let's say how he expressed when I walked outside and saw him talking to Coach Shea, this is when I saw the dog. It was in the crate. And I said, oh, it's a big dog. So I'm like, it was very shortly after that I'm like, hey, I need to talk to you. Mm-hmm. I am not a dog person. I cannot love your dog. I had this conversation very early on. So what I'm saying is, he tells me I have enough love for my dog. I have all the love that my dog needs. So that's okay. And I'll go back to this, but I want to say that became a problem on the last day of the process. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if it's a lack of awareness or an oversight or an intentional oversight, right? Mm-hmm. But if you're saying you don't like women who look like this, who are unnatural, who are, right? You have plenty of opportunities to be vetting these people out and saying, hey, that doesn't meet the criteria of what I'm looking for, especially because I'm looking for a wife, right? And I'm giving you things because you look like you're not able to do it yourself, but I'm going to give you, if this is a non-negotiable, you need to say, I know, like, I have felt like if people walk into a space with a pet and you don't acknowledge their pet, you know how your grandmother would be like, speak to everybody in the room. Mm-hmm. If you don't stop and speak to the poodle too at this day and age, it's like, don't be disrespectful. Talk to Sparky, you know, and I'm not talking to Sparky. I'm not. If you got a baby, I'm definitely going to be like, oh, a baby. You know, that's a natural use. It's cute. You like that. I don't respond in that way. And I know how it rubs people. Mm-hmm. It's not intentional, but I can't pull a fake greeting out right for your puppy. I don't feel it, you know, and I wanted to let him know, like, if it's going to offend you that he just got a haircut, and I'm not like, look, he looks so good with that haircut. I just want you to know so you can make good decisions for yourself.
So hold on. So is it that do you dislike animals? What have you dated someone with the animal? Is that a deal breaker? Like, where are we at with that? Like, because I think that's a real thing. I don't know about the acknowledging, but I do know for me being a animal person, like, I would not date a guy that didn't like dogs, because I'm going to have a dog. Like, I have a horse and a dog. So when I would date guys and they'd be like, you have a horse? Yes. And the horse is not leaving. So you can leave, sir. But that would be like very early on. If you can't, because that's usually two different types of people. Right. So is it that you just don't really like animals, and how does that, or is it just you don't consider them the same as people?
It's really just dogs. I don't know. It's just the smell. I've never gotten into it. They drool. I don't like to drool. You know how babies drool? Like, I don't mind the baby drool, but the dog drool, it's just like, I just have never been into it. My best friend's dog, I'm allergic to. Oof. I have dated someone with a dog. I tried my best. And this is the thing. I know that I'm depriving my children because people love dogs. And so, like, they ask me for dogs like every year, and I'm just like, I can't do it, right? But in my mind, if I dated someone with a dog, it would kind of be a plus, because then they could have that. It's something that I'm not going to provide for them. And, you know, they love dogs. So it's like, I wasn't even saying we can't accept it. Me and my family. I was just saying, don't have an expectation that I'm going to care for this dog in the way that you do. Gotcha. Because you're going to be disappointed when, you know, it's rolling and I'm not rubbing its tummy and stuff. You know, like, I hate to sound terrible. I don't want to sound.
No, it's not. And I don't think it is.
I know this about myself.
Yeah, I don't think, I think it's fine. There are some people that do. One of my best friends, most of my best friends don't like animals at all. And it's fine. Like, people are people, but I think the fact that you addressed it early on.
There you go.
Like, don't fall in love with me yet. Like, wait, because if the dog is a deal breaker, there are 10 women here that you into. So just, you know, whatever you need to do to make a good decision. Like, and I would hope that people would do the same for me. You know, even when the conversation with LaRon came up, said, well, I don't date women with children, but I'll make the exception. I said, I'm not fully comfortable with you making an exception, and I don't want to experiment with my children. If that's not your thing, it's not your thing. My children are wonderful. I think you'll adore them. But if it's, let's just be honest with ourselves at this age, with this amount of time, with making the choices, you know? And so it really was. And I want to say it takes a level of consideration to bring that to someone that you're interested in and say, hey, I understand this will count me out possibly, but I'm going to give this to you so that we're not in a worse situation later. And he tells me it's fine, you know? And so after he said it was fine, I'm like, okay, we Gucci. But we weren't. And so I said all that to say there were a lot of things that make me question how genuine he was being, when there were a lot of opportunities to say, hey, this woman isn't my cup of tea, for reasons that were expressed. Right. And then he kept quiet, and then it didn't make a lot of sense.
He did express when he was here that he would never have met most of the women in regular life, right? So, because I asked him, he did not seem like he had a lot in common with a lot of the women, and I asked about that. He said, well, these are not women that he would have normally met, but right. He was trying to give people a chance because, you know, obviously when you're single, you need to try something else as opposed to keep getting the same reaction. Okay, so that I'm glad you cleared that up about the dog and about the house, because I was just like, I think it was a nice house, but I was just confused about what happened in the house. Was it what was it?
Yeah, I don't have a dog, and I love kids, by the way.
No, I'm definitely taking notes, Mo.
Yeah, there you go.
Please take notes, Vanessa, because this is a lot. Are you drinking that?
No, hers is right here. I'm not touching it. You know how when Chaz gave old girl, he was like, he gonna hold on to this. This is symbol. This is not going nowhere. That's it. Just continue. I'll jump in when necessary.
Okay, but okay. So let's move on with the journey. One of the things that we had questions about that we saw on the getaway, right, was the fact that you seem to be getting a little irritated with all of the connections. I'm not gonna lie, Vanessa, I was surprised when Chaz get the strawberries out of the cleavage. I was like, did you see that in person or did you see it on TV?
Yeah, I saw it on TV. Woo. But Rashina told me about it. Rashina came upstairs and told me about it. Not the cleavage part, but just that they had a little thing going on with the fruit, and I'm just like, okay. It's so funny that I was shown that way. I'm not gonna act like I'm not typically a jealous person, right? And also I date prior to dating exclusively, I date multiple people. I'm not one that's just like, I mean, it's hard, but I've tried to start this practice because time is of the essence, and I don't have time to invest so many months and months and months in people when it's not going to go anywhere, and starting from, you know, square one when it doesn't work out. So it really wasn't. I know how it was edited, and I'm behind and through the bushes and through the windows, and now I'm not going to say that I was not watching him, because this was you know, a good time for me to be taking my notes. But it wasn't like obsessive in the way that it looked, right? It was like, it was observant, but I spent a lot of time with other people on the trip. Like I mean, I spent time kayaking with Patrice. The girls, we had a little ladies' night. What
They're not going to show any of that. They're not going to show.
No. But also when he was having time with other people, I tried to respect their privacy in the same way that I would want. But yeah, like it's just it didn't bother me because it's not a secret to me that we are dating and we're interested in other people. And I would have liked the same respect had Dominique made it. And we intended to spend time. And it's just like, okay, we're in the same space.
Right.
But how much can you do but get to know these people? We needed time to get to know people. I wasn't interfering and slapping fruit away, and you know what I mean? I mean, they made it like I was having a very difficult time. I think what I struggled most with was another time that we're in a setting where there's an opportunity for us to spend time. He did not spend time with me.
Right.
But he made his rounds.
Right.
And
Was that when you had that
conversation? Pardon?
Was that when you had that conversation with him?
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, I know that you were able to spend time. It's been plenty of time. But even managing your time better would have looked like, I want the same amount of time. Or if we're keeping in mind that I'm your top connection, I want a level of priority, a little more time. But no time is not okay. And that's when we're going to have a...
He gave you 2 dozen roses, and he only gave them 1 dozen.
Yeah.
How many do you have? How many do you have there? Hello?
Ain't none of your business what I got from the store. That ain't none of your business, Christal. You continue your interview and let the flowers do what the flowers do.
I'm just wondering, someone asked, were those for Vanessa? Obviously, are they for Vanessa? What is happening?
All this is for Vanessa, including me. You just do the interview.
Vanessa, okay, so on the way to the getaway, LaRon is talking about how people are supposed to not be jealous of their connections and all this. And Chaz made a statement to you asking you about, was this about your other, were you talking, because you made a statement about the connections. And he said, are you talking about your connection? You said the one that you have here. So was it obvious to Chaz at that point that you and Dominique had connected and were still talking? Because that felt like later when I saw the reunion, I remembered that comment that he made, that it felt a little salty. And you were like, no, but it's because, my connection that's here. So was there more energy behind that than we saw at the time?
Yeah, like and then when he mentioned Dominique in the car, but then when we got to the house, he said, I'm their only connection. You can believe what you want to believe, but let's listen to what Vanessa's saying, because I know what I'm talking about. I mean, maybe more so than you, if you don't know who you like, right? I have said this consistently. When I met Chaz at that first mixer, I liked Chaz. And when I met Dominique, I liked Dominique. I thought LaRon was funny. I thought, we had a good conversation. He cracked me up. But those are the 2 people that I decided I wanted to get to know in this process. I wanted to be kind to everybody. I did get to know people, but romantically or otherwise, those are the 2 people I was interested in. Oh, I love that. I just read the comment.
Yeah,
I really appreciate that. The other day when I watched it, Mo was like, look at my face. She ain't did nothing to me. I said, that's what I love it. Yes, I appreciate that.
Mo was Team Vanessa since episode 1. And
I didn't know it. LaRon had got in my DMs and was like, Scorpio Moe got a crush on you, Vanessa. And I'm like, who is this? He was like, he sent me the information to watch live. He's like, fast forward to this part, told me and I'm like, oh. Then it was like a couple weeks later, Dominique was like, Scorpio Moe got a crush on you, Vanessa. I said, okay, I got to get into this. And I appreciate it. You guys have been very supportive and very kind. I mean, at least fair, because I know a lot has happened and a lot of speculation and a lot of rumors. So, no, I do appreciate all the love that I can expect to get here if I come onto your platform.
Well, the thing is, and we want everyone to know this, like, we're only speaking on the stuff that we actually see. We know there's there's stuff that, you guys do off on your own, and we get all that. But based on what we see, we're just making just recapping that and making a judgment call or just our opinion on it. It doesn't mean that it's facts or anything. So,
Right. Yeah.
you know,
We try to be
and,
fair to everybody. I would say, for your situation, we spoke about we saw, and you did carry yourself. I mean, girl, we gonna get to the end. You carried yourself with a lot of grace
there you
Thank
go.
you.
in a situation that didn't necessarily, um,
Warren.
call for a lot of grace in the situation. But I do think also that I think a lot of times when a woman is not, if you have all these women that are chasing you, because after a while it seemed like Chaz became the person that everybody wanted to connect with, right? And it seemed like it was not necessarily genuine. And I'm just speaking from what we saw. It seemed like it was very much, I mean, from what was being said, it was like, oh, Chaz is he's got this, he's well off, he's got it all together. So a lot of the women at the point that everybody at the getaway was calling Chaz a connection, it felt to the viewer very disingenuous, right? Where you guys have been connecting the entire time.
Right.
So I am just appreciative of the fact that you did not necessarily, we've seen different things happen in other seasons where people respond very differently to that. So I just appreciate as a woman, seeing a woman that take the high road. I always am going to respect that. So that is that. But I also feel, like I said, this show, we want everyone to come on. We give everybody an opportunity to share their side. So when Chaz and Dominique had a very interesting perspective. But speaking of Dominique, so when he left, and I feel like he left too quickly. It seems like there was a lot going on with your cast. People were trying to, I don't know what was happening. It was like a survivor strategy for people to get people off. Dominique leaves. How are you feeling at that point? And how do you guys decide to keep connecting? And was Chaz aware that you guys, obviously he had to be aware, but how was that conversation with Chaz, letting him know that you were still interacting with Dominique?
Dominique left and I was surprised. I mean, Dominique had a connection with Rashina. Dominique was in Rashina's top. And to be fair, Chaz was in everybody's top consistently from the beginning, even if it wasn't shown. So I wasn't surprised to see that Patrice would take an opportunity when she has an opportunity to see him, because we weren't seeing each other unless we were on dates or in group settings either. So I'll say that. But yeah, Dominique and I had planned to like bring the hookahs, and we were gonna have a good time. Like, this was gonna be a time to get to know him better, because yeah, he was kind of in and out. He wasn't there consistently, and then I already met him later than I had met the first group of people. So yeah, I was surprised that he went home, and disappointed. And I didn't really discuss. When Dominique left, he let me know, I'm going to rest and recoup. I'm going to give you some time to finish out the process. Like, I'm not going to interfere with that.
Okay.
I respect that.
I heard from Dominique again within that time, because when Chaz had a meltdown at the house, whatever happened, Dominique called me to make sure I was okay. And this is not inconsistent for Dominique. Dominique would check on me and make sure I was home safely when we had late nights of filming. He would make sure I got home, and he's very protective. And so whatever happened, I heard from him. He's like, "Are you okay? I heard some things happened. Is everything fine?" Like, just making sure. I'm like, everything is okay, But yeah, so it wasn't like constant contact, but him going home for me didn't mean he fell off the earth. It just meant he wasn't in the process. And because that wasn't something that I wanted, I didn't feel like that interfered with me continuing to connect with him. Now, because Chaz took several opportunities to discredit our connection, I didn't need to come and keep trying to explain that we were connected. You can believe it or you cannot believe it. It's not like you don't know that he's a connection of mine.
Why do you say he made several? He tried to discredit the connection.
It was just like at the house, you don't have a connection, but in the car, you don't have any other connection. But in the car, so are you talking about me or the other one? Right? We all know who I'm talking about, right? Like when we went on the group date it wasn't shown. But as a matter of fact, Dominique, Chaz text me, yeah, I don't know why Dominique didn't bring you flowers, but it was a lot of little shady shit. Oh, excuse me, like it was.
I knew it.
Flag on the play.
I knew it.
Flag on the play.
I knew
it was like I'm not sure why Dominique didn't bring you flowers. I mean, I expected he would. Even when he walked up, he's like, I brought sunflowers because I knew Dominique was gonna bring you roses. So okay,
let me just ask you a question about Chazzy. Have you met Chazzy? And it seems that because of the behavior that happened we talked about this on the show, because of the behavior that happened at the getaway with Chaz saying who's the sexiest guy here, do you think it was important, just in your opinion, this is not fact, do you think that Chaz wanted everybody to like him? Okay. Yeah. It feels like Chazzy needs to, not Chaz, but Chazzy, because it's a different personality. Needed to be validated by the other women, because saying who's the sexiest person, kind of hating, throwing shade to the other guys, that is very that is usually, it's funny because those are usually the characteristics of someone that is insecure, right? And it can be titled as narcissistic, but to me, narcissistic people are usually very internally insecure. And I'm not saying that he is, I'm just saying from what we saw. I don't know, that he seemed very insecure when anyone would give credit to another man. And so that's what I'm speaking to.
I think that moment at the PJ party was in poor taste, especially because of all the women who were connected to him, to choose Patrice to come up, and knowing that Patrice also, although Chaz was in her top, they hadn't connected. He hadn't contacted her. He chose her while she liked William and Alonzo, and they're both sitting there watching. And
that's why I feel like he did that for their benefit. It really was.
It was just in poor taste. You could have had me tell you that she was sexy,
right? Because
nobody would be surprised by that. It wouldn't rub anybody the wrong way. This is something that I
would have did.
But
it's kind of like Mr. Take Your Girl.
And it's like, how do you feel like that made the men who are connected to her feel, that are your friends? Why? It just
So let me ask you this: what, in your opinion, caused the breakdown? Because at the point that you guys all confronted him and were like, "Look, you have," and I don't feel like you guys confronted him in a aggressive way. There have been other seasons where the ladies have been very, very forward and very blunt, like, dude, you got to make a choice. But I feel like with you guys, it was more, it was playful. It wasn't the same type of energy. So why do you think he responded? Like, it seemed like he felt like he was being beat up. I mean, and I'm not discrediting his feelings. I'm just trying to figure out where that came from. Why was he Mo?
Man.
Well,
go ahead.
Anyway, Vanessa, what do you think the response from?
Which response are we talking about? The leaving the house?
Yes, the breakdown and the leaving the house. Yes.
So, okay. So I addressed him. Rashina addressed him at the table. But that was like we had the little lounge thing. Maybe I can't remember if it was maybe directly after the run. Okay, Maya addressed it, and Maya wasn't connected to him, but Maya was close with us. And she's from the outside looking in, it's not liking what's happening with us. And she doesn't feel partial, to him in the way that we do, because she don't have a connection with him. So she sits down and we're all again together, and she addresses him about it. I don't know verbatim what she says, but essentially, do you want to be chased? Are you trying to have these women fight for you instead of making decisions that brings clarity to this group? Like, what's going on with you? And he really didn't like that.
Okay.
He didn't like that. Then we have the elimination, and I'm super emotional. I Patrice is crying. I'm a crybaby anyway. I'm
Mhm.
crying. I feel terrible having to do that. But initially, they had asked Maya to do that. Maya declined, and they asked Patrice to do it, and Patrice declined. So I said, I will do it. You know, that's their connection.
Right.
Pardon?
This is the Will situation,
Sending
right?
William home. Sending William home at the getaway. And so I did it, but it was hard to do. I didn't like to do that. So then that's when I'm crying, and then he comes to console me. And I'm like, funny you're here. While you're here, let's talk about something. So then we get into him, and he's like, you don't believe the connection we have. You don't see it, and you don't. And I'm like, no, I'm sorry, but I know these are the issues that I'm having, and nothing that you're saying is making this feel different for me. And he just maybe all of it. I don't know. We also had a very emotional conversation following breakfast. We sat around and we told personal things about ourselves to one another, about our history, and some of the things shared were very, very emotional. And so maybe the day was just very overwhelming. But
interesting. I want to shout out the she says, hey y'all, we're casting next season in Philly. We did put the link in the chat a couple of weeks ago for anyone in Philly or the Philly area that is interested in. Yes. And I would just say I'm actually looking forward to Philly because I feel like it's going to give us different energy. I think it could be more of that East Coast energy.
So if it's like Philadelphia area, that's like Philly, South Jersey, Delaware, it's that area right there.
I like that energy. I used to like that energy, but God had other plans for me. I'm all about the South Carolina energy now. But first of all, hold on. There was a hilarious, hey, you heard 7-3. She says, why'd I read this like a Bible verse? Thessalonigros, Chaz is wept. Ma'am, the Chaz is hilarious. The chat is hilarious. So yeah, you guys, please spread the word about that, and I will post again the link that you can click on to, sign, register, see if you can get a chance with that. But let's go back to that night, because what was funny in the reunion is that we learned that you were not as empathetic to Chaz as some of the other ladies were, and said, well, if he was going to leave, then William
right, he could
go. It was that true? Did you say that, Vanessa? And
yeah, I did say that. And so for one, at the pajama party when Koshia got eliminated, Chaz told me he was leaving the process.
Why?
He was up in arms that she got eliminated.
He was upset that Koshia left.
Koshia left. And he said that
he told you that?
He texted me. He told me when he took his mic off, I'm leaving the process. I'll call you and explain everything. I said, okay.
What?
I did not hear from him. He never called me. Dominique called me. Dominique talked to me, made sure I made it home. The next day, Chaz hits me up and he's like, yeah, what you up to, whatever. He says, I'm just out here waiting for my next date. I said, the next date in the process that you left last night. And he's like, oh, yeah, well, I decided not to leave. And I said, well, you never called and explained to me. Now, this is not verbatim, but essentially, never called and explained to me what you wanted to explain. So now I'm not understanding, right? So that wasn't the first time he had left the process. So at this point, I'm like, there's a certain level of entitlement for you to think that you can come and go as you please when people are here and they're not playing. And I think justice to me is very important. And maybe I should be a little more lenient with people that I care about, but also the people that I surround myself with have a level of integrity that they don't need to pass because they're going to do the right thing. Right. So maybe it sounds insensitive that I would say that. I don't know how it landed with him. Now, that wasn't the first thing that I reached out and said. What I said was, because we sat at that table and he said, well, if I leave now, will you come with me? I said, no. And he said, why not? You don't have no other connections here.
Oh.
And I don't know. I just didn't want to know you.
I bet I can find one.
So after that, I texted him that evening, and I did make an attempt to talk to him, but the producers kind of was like, he needs his space, because he walked away from that conversation and he said, I'll be back. I'll come back to this. I thought he just needed a breather because he was worked up. He never came back. And I didn't feel like I should chase after him. He was supposed to circle back with me. Just if somebody texts you and they like, I'll get back to you, you let them get back to you.
Right.
So that wasn't the first thing that I said, but then I said, you know, I don't want to leave this process with you. I want to end this process with you. So essentially chill out, stay here.
Yeah.
No response. And then, I don't know exactly when, then I got into now, we didn't have to send one, because I was literally crying Patrice was crying, William went home.
Yeah.
Now you got people upset. You're going to leave me, Rashina, it was Mika, Patrice. Right. And then now William is gone. So Patrice can't even it's just like, why would you it's so inconsiderate of everyone here that you can make that decision to go. And it wasn't the first time. And that's why I just kept eating my food and just enjoying my evening, because it's the theatrics of it all. It was just like,
I was going to say the theatrics.
I can't give any fake emotion to what's happening. What's happening is not right. It's very inconsiderate of me, of them, of your friends. And it's not necessary.
Let me ask you this, because he said Mo immediately challenged him, and my husband has been challenging as well. Some of the things that he said, right? And he said that he's just, even on the reunion, he said he's just a poetic person. Was he always speaking in those like soliloquies consistently? Was that consistent? I mean, and I don't mean that in a disrespect, no disrespect, but was it always that dramatic? And the sunset, I like the sunset line. I know it was a line, but babe, I don't need you to. That's not important. But yeah, was it always the poetic, verses and things like that, or was it ever just?
The issue that I had with Chaz is sometimes he seems so brilliant, and then sometimes he seems so simple. And I just couldn't understand how we went from you're brilliant and making coding and making all these things, and then you have to ask me who you should like in the process. Or was that okay that I said that? Or it was like the social cues weren't.
Maybe he's a little socially awkward, because
No, it's all game. It's all game. I guarantee you he volunteered information that wasn't even necessary just to let her know what he put out there and get to see her reaction.
But I definitely think there was a lot of game. But are you saying that he could not necessarily, because some people that are I say it like this, there's a lot of men and women that are I have a girlfriend that is a doctor, but doesn't necessarily have like
common sense
on certain levels, right? And I think that there are men specifically like, computer, that are really like computer nerds and stuff like that. They may not necessarily be as personable and charismatic as some people that are in lesser fields. So I think God gives all of us, like, some people have a lot of street smarts and no book smart. Some people have some women are very sexual, have a lot of sexual energy and not a lot of intelligence. Like, we all are different, and that's not wrong. So I'm saying, do you think that maybe he was a little bit awkward socially, specifically in an environment where you're dating this many women that may not? I don't believe that Chaz is normally dating lash techs. I don't. I don't think that's probably the woman that will be drawn to him, because saying things like, you are my temple, I worship you, is not going to land well with the average lash tech.
Let me ask you this, though. He said that to who he thought it would apply to. He had other game for other people.
Did he?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Do you think that he had real game? Like,
in that conversation, he said that, but what did he say to other people? It was so that same guy.
Did he ever come off as not? Did he ever come off as smooth to you?
No, but his actions, it wasn't smooth. He said that the temple thing. Then he turned around. He's eating strawberries out of titties.
He was eating strawberries out of titties. I was a little concerned about that.
No,
like,
he knows what that lets you know right there. That's words versus action. He knows what he's doing.
You're going a little hard. Okay, you're going a little hard.
No, because I'm going that because I'm surprised because Christal, Christal, you be up on it. You be calling shit early. I called him early. Did I not?
You did, but but you also had an ulterior motive and ulterior agenda.
No, I was rooting for them. This was Ken and Barbie. Am I right? Everybody thought that. I was rooting for them, and I thought, but once I saw the funny stuff, I was like, oh, okay, I know who he is. And then everybody else saw it later.
But I'm asking Vanessa. I'm not trying to cover for Chaz. I'm asking questions. And I also think that everybody isn't the same. I think a lot of times we feel like if a person isn't like us, that something's wrong with them. I'm not giving him, I'm just trying to figure out from Vanessa, because I don't know, Chaz. Did you feel like he was socially not right, like awkward? Like,
I did.
Yeah.
I did. I felt like there was something. The text messages though were beautiful. I guess he called me a goddess from the beginning. She's a goddess. This is like my nickname, or well, I don't know. It wasn't a nickname, but like it's what he called me. So I guess bringing the temple and the goddess and the orbit, I don't know. Maybe that was his way of just tying it in, and so maybe it was not strategic, but like, you know, maybe there was like a story. It's just,
did he call other people goddess?
When it didn't land, it just did. You know what I mean? It doesn't come together. I think the way that he thought it was going to come together. And so when that happens, it's just kind of like, it's more awkward than it is poetic or art. It's more.
Did he call other women goddesses too?
I don't know. See, this is
definitely
just
said "Good morning, beautiful." Texas.
He did. But I told y'all about the "Good morning, beautiful" is lame. Those are horrible. And I guess everybody was getting the "Good morning." Did you?
I thought maybe it was a rendition, because mine was like "Good morning, beautiful. How is your son?" I don't know what was going on with my son, but I mean, I know that it was general, and then that one was specific to me. I don't know. Everybody got a little. Maybe he put a little
extra
unique
signature.
You know, you get everybody the same gift and you wrap it differently or something on Christmas, and it's like, this one for you though. But I don't know. It was always, I could tell there was like a depth to him, and I can tell there was a lot of thought put into it, but it's just the execution would be like,
And that makes me feel like maybe it's not. Did you feel like it wasn't genuine? That's saying that you're the temple, I worship you.
This is the thing. This is when I started to really have a concern. After we came back from the house, Chaz was really upset that I didn't reach out to him. And then he was more upset of what I said. And he was very upset because before we went to the getaway house, I didn't respond to a text message. I sent him a really long text message about myself. He responded in kind. I sent this message to both he and Dominique, because I was like, hey, these are my flaws. These are my warnings. These are my pros and cons, essentially. I know you guys are going to have to be making some decisions when we get to this house. I want to give you this, like, just to preface this time, you know, so it will help you make your decision. He responded like thoroughly, and I didn't respond. I didn't reply to the text because I felt like, well, we're going to have time now. I'm going to see you. We can talk it out in person. He didn't like that I didn't respond to his text. He didn't like that other text message. He was feeling away. And so when we got back, I honestly think he was leading toward choosing Rashina and not choosing me. I think I had turned him off. And but then I sent him a message. He said something to me about Black men and needing, like, they need space to feel. And I'm like, okay. You're right. I can get on board with that. I have space for this. Like, I'm here. Like, what, you know, it's like, okay, and then maybe it was me. Like, what's up? Let's talk. And so then I think maybe Rashina had already checked out. She told us before we left the house, whatever happened here was too much for me. What she saw, what she heard, she said, I can't do this. I'm like, okay, I feel it. So when she gets back, I think he takes her on a date. I think the date goes okay, but I don't think they hash out what they need to hash out. And then he takes her on the second date. And so I don't know where this happens in the timeline, but Chaz all of a sudden comes and tells me, I think I'm in love with you. And I'm like, okay, so imagine we at 0 now. We at 0. Now you're in love with me, and I know that's bullshit. So we taking it to -1.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
And then whatever happened with Sheena, I don't know. He anticipated being rejected by her because of her energy. And rather than accept that or allow her to make that choice to not choose him, he came back to Rashina, which wasn't shown, and he says, well, I'm not choosing you either. I love Vanessa. Which I felt was like very hurtful and spiteful to do towards someone that was your top connection. You probably were going to choose, right?
Right.
And so, so I was kind of prepared the way that he reacted to her and caring for her so much. And at the getaway, he gave her a gift and like, you know, I don't know, for him to switch. Then he did the same thing to Alexis previously. It was like, that was his connection. And then she said something about his age. And then after she said something about his age, by the next round, he was voting her off. I thought that was your connection. So it was like,
that's when I noticed that there was some BS, because I noticed that when Alexis made the comment about his age, he was very sensitive to that and tried to dismiss it. And it's like, but you can't tell someone how they should feel. For her being younger, you cannot tell her how she should feel about being with someone that much older. She said it was it's a creepy old man, and then saying that he wouldn't have any trouble. Sir, you don't know that. So just FYI, Thea, first of all, thank you for the chat. I put the link in our chat. So if you guys know anybody, I'm putting it in here again. Please make sure that you forward this link for the Philly casting. And I've sent a lot of people to different castings that you've had. I share a lot of your posts, Thea, so I appreciate you doing that. But back to the show, that's when I kind of started looking at Chaz when we talked about it. Like, why is he? I don't think he really was into Alexis. I think that it was an issue that Alexis mentioned the age, and I think he's one of the people that ego. Yeah.
Oh. And for
anybody that says there's not a problem, I understand there's a lot of couples that are very happy with huge age gaps. 15 years is a lot. And even though it does work for some people it could be very uncomfortable, very uncomfortable. So her vocalizing that was well within her right. So when he kind of dismissed that, I was like, oh, so he just wants to be the guy that everybody likes.
I think people's preferences don't have to be a direct slight to you, right? Exactly. And so it's like, another thing that I feel is an issue too is that, like, with me, like, when you care a lot up front, right? It might feel a way for someone to get to know you and then like you less, or seem to like you less. Like, it's hurtful. I've experienced it. Like, people are like, oh, you cute, you get into who I am, and you realize that ain't for me. But I when you have like a certain type of enthusiasm and energy toward it, and then you get into it and you're like, I don't like it, that's hurtful for the person on the receiving end, because it might feel like mistreatment for someone to withdraw the care that they gave you essentially on credit, right? But it's not mistreatment. It's just, maybe it's bad on both ends. Maybe we have to look at, like, I can take responsibility because I made you feel like I liked you and you were likable, but then also you started acting like you didn't know how to handle that care that I was showing you. And then I felt like I'm going to withdraw, but it's just like, we have to learn.
It's a dating process. You can't, everybody that you think you like, you may not like, but that's also why I think it's important to go into dating and not make assumptions. I think it's I learned that the hard way. You cannot look at someone the way they look and make an assumption about how you would enjoy being with them, because you have to get the totality of that person. And a lot of times we like the idea of someone and not the reality of them.
Right. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times I just got to know you and it wasn't for me. So that's
and it happens. I think at this age we have to be realistic and at times be able to say you're a solid person, but you're not my person.
Right.
Or that's not how I want to be treated, or you underdelivered, or I was underwhelmed with what you had going on. I expected more and that's on me, but you didn't deliver well and that's on you. And we're going to part ways. You know, if that's your preference, it's not a slight to you.
Not a slight.
You can't help when you were born, nor can she.
Right.
It's like to take it personally, like you know, for Rashina to say, hey, I'd seen enough.
Yeah.
Whatever happened, I saw enough. She didn't dig into him and tell him I saw enough to make this decision for myself. I don't want it. So in some way I was prepared for what might come, or, you know, how he might retaliate for me not choosing. Now, I couldn't know what it was going to be, but I knew it was going to be an adverse reaction.
Right.
Because so far, anytime a person was not going with the way that he did, he was going with even things he disliked. But that didn't serve you in the end.
Right.
So when people, you know, had the wherewithal to say, hey, that ain't my cup of tea, I don't like that. It's like guns blazing now. Like,
right. Now you're an enemy. And I think that's, you know, what our next line of questioning is why. I kept asking, you know, Mo in the chat, like, why does he seem so angry with Vanessa? Like, where did all that anger come from, to the point where if he decided, as he said, that, you know, you guys dated and you guys were each other's top and then it changed, that's one thing. But where is all the vitriol coming from to where we have to have, I can't love you. I can't love someone like you. Like, it was all very personal, the way he, like, I've seen this show from season 1. When people get to that end, if they choose themselves or they choose not to do it, it's always like, okay, you know, this is, it's never with that type of like resentment and anger. And, you know, maybe there have been, but it's usually like, I'm going to choose myself. But the way he did it, it was a lot of anger. And so I'm wondering if you can give us any clarity on, like, did you see that he was that angry with you? Where did that come from?
I'm going to repeat the day of the choose you scene. He texted me that morning, good morning, beautiful. Like, none of our interactions indicated that he didn't like me, right? Even one of the very last dates, the temple thing and the deeply and cheers to love, like, and he had just said he wasn't in love. Now, I didn't believe it, but the way that he tried to weaponize love, even saying to Rashina, like, well, I love her, you know, and then, well, telling me, well, I love you, but it's just like trying to evoke an emotional response. But that's a miss, because we're not at that point yet. We're not at the point of being in love, especially when none of your actions thus far have made me believe that that's where you are.
Right.
I will say that he did tell me that I reminded him of an ex-girlfriend who he could never satisfy. I guess he never did enough. And maybe that was triggering for him.
Not your,
yeah, like he couldn't please her. And so maybe, you know, just what I did and the things that I said maybe reminded him of how difficult that relationship was. But I'm excited. I'm looking forward to hearing what it was that I did to Chaz, because I was very intentional about coming into this process and showing care to everyone, men and women, and the producers and the camera crew. Like, I'm going to treat people the way that I would like for them to treat me, or the way that they want to be treated, right? So and I like Chaz, and Dominique was gone, so I would say I treated Chaz the best of everyone, because I actually really was interested in him, right? I was nice to everybody, but again, there's a differentiation when you are interested in a person and you're fond of a person.
Right.
So I don't feel like I did anything to warrant the vengeance. The
petrified rose.
No.
It was Dominique. That's it. It was all.
You think that's why?
Yeah, I think
No,
you know what I'm saying. You can be so easily. It's so easy to offend people. You never know. I could have said something in this live that is like, I don't like her, and it's so hard, especially when people are not vocal. Like you could think it's very trivial, and it will hurt people deep. Why? Because of past, because of triggers, because of you don't know, and so I know that people really wanted to make sense. I think it would make a lot more sense if I slashed his tires or set him up,
tricked him. Like if you tricked him, because what it seemed like is that he was vulnerable with you and he felt hurt. Like that whole idea of like, I can't, like he was angry at you in that scene. So I don't know if it was because you mentioned the brother. It said that he could not deal with rejection. So did he feel like a lot of people thought maybe he thought you were going to reject him, and so he was hurt about that and trying to reject you first? It was just a very bizarre scene, and I wondered, were you surprised? The petrified, even when he said like, I can't love you, and then he said, this is basically like you killed the love. Like it was wild. What is going through your head when you are seeing all that?
Well, one of the last conversations that we had off camera after the date with his brother, after I spent some time thinking and trying to figure out like what was going on, I felt like maybe Chaz has issues with women, like disliking women or trust issues with women or not feeling safe with them. And I think that we were both vulnerable with each other and shared a lot with one another. And so I told him that I feel like he doesn't have to be so distrusting, but he needs to do some work to get to the root of what is causing him to act this way, and get close enough, but then go, because you don't want to get any closer with any one person. And I told him, I told him where I thought it came from, where the fear of rejection may be stemming from. And then he said, no, you're totally wrong. You're all wrong. It has nothing to do with that. It's not that. And at that point, that's why I brought up the self-denial. Like, I'm gracious with people who are willing to do the work because I understood I had to do a lot of work, right? But I can't be gracious with self-denial, because as long as you don't believe that there's any work that you have to do, we're not going to be able to get in a better place. Right. And so I don't know. I don't know if he felt like in that moment I abandoned him, but that was a burden I couldn't carry if you were not going to commit to carrying the rest. I said, I can support you from a distance. I've been here the whole time. I could try to have your back while you sort through those things, but you're going to have to loop people in to help you, because the way that you move because of these issues of being afraid to be rejected, it's like, it's not safe for anybody else either. Right. And he just said, no, you're wrong, and that ain't right. And so I don't know, maybe that's where the hurt came in. I'm really not sure, but it wasn't anything like intentional or malicious that I did toward him. Like, I just decided that wasn't something that I could do or carry on long term, and I chose myself.
So he's obviously, there's been a lot going on with Cass in the chats and different chat Facebook groups and things. A lot of things said, and then some text messages mysteriously were leaked, and we did ask him about that. He said he could not talk about that. I think he talked about, I'm not sure, but it was leaked on another platform. And it's interesting. It's like I'm hearing, and I don't know, because we didn't talk to him at length. He actually came on to support LaRon, and we asked him a few questions, but I've heard that he's been upset with what some bloggers have said about him. But when you come on a television show, you're putting yourself out there for that. But I'm wondering, from your perspective, when it is a violation of your privacy if text messages are leaked that involve you, that you did not plan to share with the world. You were on television, but these are private text messages. How did you feel about that? And you've been, handled yourself extremely graceful, but I mean, how did that shock you? And what did you think? Well, I need to sue him, or what were your thoughts on that?
I was super disappointed with it because of anybody in the world. He and I both know that didn't happen, right? And he would have been the only one who could come to my defense and say, even if it were leaked, like, hey, I know what this might sound like, but that's not what happened, right? And that would just, you don't have to be my best friend to do that. That's a noble thing to do. Like, hey, but he didn't. And furthermore, he went on to just kind of allude to it happening, like in addition to what was leaked. And so I was being facetious, and it wasn't, I understand what it sounded like, but that wasn't the reality of what happened, right? I was joking. And so the only thing that's difficult for me is that I cannot really hold him accountable, because if you pay attention, he never actually said that it happened. He just gave you enough information for us all, or for you all, to put together the pieces and say, oh, well, then it must have. But that's not going to hold up in court, because there's no record of him saying for a fact, this is what happened between I and Vanessa. Right. And so beyond kissing, which I already said happened, right? And so I don't like that. The reason that I've been able probably to get through it just fine is because the people that know me and that matter most to me never believed it. Like Dominique, for example, already had interacted with Chaz to know how he is and how low he could go, right? And so that wasn't an issue. My friends, my family, people who know me, people who know what I've been through, know that I would not be doing that, right? And so unfortunately, there are a bunch of strangers who are forming their own opinion, but when you leave it up to the public opinion, then it is going to be what it is. But I think it's very cowardice to imply, right? And not clear it up one way or the other. But he protected himself by not taking it all the way left, but he didn't protect me to do the right thing either. And so I didn't care for that. But I feel like, again, because I care very much about justice, and I believe in God, who says, vengeance is mine and I will repay. I don't really have to do much, right? And so if he does pursue whatever in defense of himself, one thing he's doing is he's taking a lot of missteps because he's so emotional about this, right? You can see the emotion seeping through his actions. He thinks he's doing one thing, but you're acting very recklessly. So yeah, it's unfortunate and it's unjustified, but you gotta be careful with God's people now. And I'm not just saying this because to be cliche, but sometimes you really, like, I genuinely feel like I'm one of God's favorite. He cares for me and he looks out for me, and God has always, even when I felt like there was nobody else, but there was literally always somebody, because God always gives me exactly what I need in the time that I need it. So I'm not happy with what happens, but I'm okay with what's happening, and I'm going to be okay with the outcome, because
who has your back. I was just saying that, like, the Bible says vengeance is mine, and sometimes it can be hard to wait on God, because sometimes I'm like, do you see that? Are you ready? I mean, when are you going to do it? But but trust me, he has it, and sometimes when you're healed, you don't even need it. But we all reap what we sow. So I have to ask you before and Mo, you can close your ears if this is difficult for you to hear. I don't want you to be uncomfortable.
Hey, do what you gotta do. Do what you gotta do.
So Vanessa, we did see at the reunion that Dominique, it was obvious that you and Dominique had reconnected. That did seem to be something that bothered your past connection. So let's talk about that. What happened after after you chose yourself, were you and Dominique able to continue to get to know each other? We saw you, I know he was your guest on the show the other night. Where are you guys at, and how did that, were you guys able to kind of pick back up where you started, or where is that at right now?
Yeah, so after the show, we continued to
Are you pouring out my drink? You poured out.
Hey, you're not here. You're not gonna get nothing. Vanessa's stuff is still here, though. But by the way, you
yeah,
focus
we just picked it up.
You focus on the wrong thing.
We just kind of picked up and continued to get to know each other. So yeah, by the time we made it to the reunion, we were pretty locked in at that point. Now, obviously, like dating needs definition. Different, like, I mean, you got to get on the same page with the person that you're dating, because I think he and I might have a different timeline for when we were actually dating, as opposed to spending time or exclusive. You know what I mean? Like, actually, we've never been to exclusivity in our dating, but we've had like tiers of primacy and like just different things. But what Dominique did express last night is that he does not want to share that. Yeah, like our current status today, and so I'm going to be respectful of that. But yes, after the show, we did continue we continued to spend time together and reconnected and really got to know each other without the constraints of the show.
We can't say the level of dating. Are you guys dating? We just can't say where you are in the process, or
I think he just doesn't want to discuss it. He doesn't want it to be discussed at all. Like,
gotcha.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. Are you the only thing because I like Dominique a lot. I really wish he had been able to stay on the show.
I do too as well.
I like it, but I am a little concerned about the children, because he wants to have a lot of children. He did clear up that he does not want to have 10. That was just like, he feels like children are a blessing. But are you open to having more children?
No? Yeah, I'd like to have more children. Yeah, I'd really like to have a daughter.
How many children are you interested in having?
I used to just want 4. I used to want 4 children.
Okay.
But I don't know. Time is ticking, and I think I thought this through for a long time, and I came to, I would hate for at the end of my life, because I love being a mother. I really love being a mother. Mm-hmm. I would hate for at the end of my life to have decided not to have more children because of what people would think about that, or how people would. So it's just like, if I'm going to be true to myself, I would like to continue to have children and be a mother and raise well-adjusted individuals who can come and date people well and treat people well and not be the people that we're having to deal with on the dating scene. So I feel like I don't want to close myself off to that. I would definitely like to have more kids.
Yeah, I don't think that. I think that everyone should do what makes them happy, and I think being a mom was the best thing that ever happened to me. I know my threshold was 2. But I also think that we all should everyone has to find their own definition of happiness.
There
Everybody.
You go.
And I think that children it's a beautiful thing. I think yes, I agree with what you said. You should do what makes you happy. You should not care about what anyone else thinks, because at the end of this, and we've been in a weird place as a country since 2020, right? But over the last 2 months, I know at least 5 people that have passed away. And it's so interesting how we always have so much opinions about what other people should do. But once your time is up, no one is saying, well, you know what, they should have done this or they should have did this. Like, it's all on you, and you have to live your life. So I think everyone needs to find out what makes you happy and chase that with everything that you have. So that is my just suggestion. I know you don't know me, but yeah, I would just say, and I think that, from what you've shown us and shared with us, your journey is beautiful, and opening that up is a brave thing to do. I know for me, I remember when I went through my divorce, and I was so heartbroken because I loved so hard, like ridiculously hard. And I just didn't think I could do that again, because I don't like when you give your heart and you just love hard. It's like, and it gets broken. It's just like, what do I do with this? I don't want to give it to someone else that's going to do the same thing. So I was very, very, very careful. But God gave me this Bible verse that Jeremiah 29:11, like, for I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and give you a great future. And so I realized that he was telling me that my later years could be even better than my beginning. And I can say that I did a lot of work, Vanessa, still working, but I did find the ability to love again in that capacity, because I had loved so deeply. And I finally, after a lot of time and a lot of work, was able to love again and find that again. So I believe that it's out there for anyone that wants it. Go ahead, Mo.
No, because I remember you used to be on these, you were like, yeah, I'm in this group. I was like, why are you talking to these people you don't even know?
Yeah, he did.
You remember that?
Yeah. I needed those people. Those people were helping me. We were
no. That's the point I'm getting to. Yeah. And I see that really, I didn't know what it was. I was like, yo, you bugging out. Like, why are you talking? But it actually helped. So yeah. I really commend and respect that. Like, that showed me that worked. Like, those groups, I never thought that was a real thing or that could really help people, but it actually does. For the both of you to reach out, like, as men, we don't, we barely want to go to the doctor. You know what I'm saying? So that's something I think that we could take from women, like to reach out and get help or to seek about ourselves and our mental well-being, because we just, or whatever well-being, that we don't do that enough. And I think we could take a cue from women from that.
Yeah. I think women are super resilient, and
they are.
Yeah. And I feel like, I'm like a lover girl. Like, I just love. And I just feel like I'm so blessed. And I will tell you I'm blessed any day you ask, because people pour so much into me. And I'm talking, my friends, my family, my mentors, my children. Like, it's always replenished. So I can pour it out. And it is hurtful, and heartbreak is hard, and moving on is hard. But I wouldn't personally rather go through my life without connections, even connections that you lose or that you have to move on from. I would rather have those experiences and those memories and continue to pour, because I trust that I will always have that poured back into me. And so when you pick up the pieces and you do the work so you can come back better, it's still a more hopeful situation. And you just keep trying.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you coming and sharing. I've really enjoyed this interview, Vanessa. And I know that that love is out there for you, because you put out such a bright light. I don't know if it's Dominique or if it is Mo or whoever it is, but we know that it's coming for you, because I think whenever you want it and you are moving in a positive way and trying to make yourself better, I think that God always honors that. And so we are excited. We look forward to, I look forward to hearing back from you. I don't know what is happening over here in this quadrant.
No, I believe it or not, this is all fun. I really want to be happy. She's a sweet person and classy. That's the thing. I mean, everybody thinks that I'm looking at just the beauty. I mean, I live in Atlanta. There's beautiful women everywhere. But when you have the beauty with the class and how she carries herself, like, I respect that more than anything. So
thank you.
Keep doing your thing.
Thank you. Thank you both for having me. I appreciate it. I was so nervous coming on here, but you guys do. Yeah, and Dominique was like, man, I just felt so comfortable. So now I understand what he was saying. And
we had so much fun with Dominique.
Yeah.
And I think with us, I mean, the other channels do what they do, but I think that's the one thing we provide, is that everyone to feel comfortable. And while we were saying that, I know, being as though outside of, you doing, I don't know if she's a life coach, I don't know, but you were doing a podcast on Tuesday and it was just you guys. Like, people are going to take this and they're going to recap it and do other things with it and take what you said from here. And I just want people to know that, first of all, give us credit for that. Because ain't none of y'all else got a little black this person and whoever. Nobody else did it, but we did it,
What
and
is happening?
we create that environment, and that's
Type
one.
of shit.
Yeah, there you go.
He got that Scorpio energy on it, but no, we appreciate it, and like I said, we welcome anybody to come on here and tell their story because we all are nobody is perfect, everybody is working, and I think as long as you're willing to come on and be respectful, and there was one Ready to Love guest that was disrespectful, and I should not have had them on, but I had no idea. I should have just ended it. But I really try to I want people to feel comfortable, and I want you to be able to share parts of your personality that we did not get a chance to see on the show. And so we definitely got a chance to see that from you. We hope that you are, able to keep in touch with us and keep us posted on what's happening next for you. Last question for me, Vanessa. Overall, so you had this experience, you were going through it in real time with your life coach. What did you learn about yourself in relation to dating from even being on this show and going through this experience?
Oh, so many things. Like I have a list. I have a long list. But I think the most pressing was, I guess, knowing something and then practicing something is totally different. And so I felt like, I knew what I was doing, but putting it into practice in real time with real people and consideration for them and the variables that they bring is different. And I think that, being too regimented, being too rigid and uptight about, your list and what you're looking for and what you need to have and it can tend to cause you to shoot yourself in the foot, And so, my coach used to say, and I said it, I said it last night. She said, allow yourself to receive what your spirit truly desires. And I understand that women are like, oh, I need this, I need this, I need this and this. And, and that's fair to have expectations and have your standards in a certain way. But, when people are just trying to love you and they want to love you and they're imperfect, I'm not saying like drop everything, but I'm saying don't keep yourself from the care or the lesson, even if it's just for a season. Don't keep yourself from that because you could walk away better and they could walk away better for the interaction that you guys allowed each other. And so, I learned that and so much more. To be slow to speak. I learned to, that you can't reason with crazy. I learned that, and this is something Dominique said. He said, pressure doesn't always make diamonds, right? And there are some people who go through a lot in life and they come back and they want to make people better. They do their best, and there are people who don't fare so well and they hurt people, and so there were a lot of takeaways from me. And I think if I have an opportunity, I might share as I go, but it was a blessing. But I mean, I didn't get everything that I expected to get, but I got so much, and it just in the spirit of gratitude, I feel like, I'm glad that it happened and that I went through it and that I'm here.
Hey.
Did your son say anything about it, or did they know? Were they aware? What is their take on it?
Okay, so one of my sons is 17.
Oh,
and, he knew. He told me going into it because he wants me to find love, but he told me just don't wind up being a mean mama. So I said, okay, I won't. And so I tried to conduct myself as well. Now I didn't know that my face be doing all the things that it be doing. I really never saw. I never saw that I wore so many expressions on my face. So, I mean, I could have very easily become a meme. But the baby, he's 6. He didn't really know. He didn't really know until he saw me. He saw it somewhere. And he's like, is that you? And all he said was, I need to be a part. Like, let me be a part, essentially, of the decision making. Don't leave me out of your love life. And so I'm like, okay. But yeah, they knew. At one point I did try to bring my son because my son is super discerning. I mean, a man's man. I mean, he's a young man, but I mean, he's just like, and I kind of, with my first husband, I fell in love before I looped him in. And then it was hard for me to make a good decision for my child because I was already just so headstrong about who I was in love with. So after that, I'm a little different in the sense that I will bring someone around my child, not in the capacity of my lover or something, but just because if he's a decent enough man, he's still going to give something positive to my children, you know, and so I will let him meet, and I will take his input into consideration as far as who I'm dating. But he doesn't watch the show, and he doesn't like to. If I'm watching it in the house and he's walking past, he didn't like Chaz. I can tell you that much.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Mo, do you have anything? I see you moving forward with a flower. What's happening right now?
No, I'm just
Thank you.
It's not petrified, by the way. No, we good. No, we good, man. Like, you know, I know what people are expecting, but I totally respect this woman, and I saw it early. I saw a lot of stuff early, if y'all gonna keep it real. And nah, we good.
He did.
I wish you the best. And shout out to Dominique too, because I actually liked him. He gave a dope interview, and I think people got to see his character, and that was important to me. So yeah.
Yeah, he did. He gave a really good interview, and he was just honest.
Yeah.
And we appreciate that. We did. We had LaRon. I don't know exactly what happened on that interview. He came on with Lamar and Chaz, so that was interesting. It was just a lot of interesting things happening that night. But we would like to have one more of the ladies, but then we're going to move on to the Never Ever Mess. But again, Vanessa, we want to thank you so much. And I just want to send you a virtual hug. Thank you for coming on to this. And
thank you guys.
We'll definitely be in touch.
Thanks for having me. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye. You could barely contain yourself.
You mind your business. I was very professional. You know.
What? Jesus. So okay. So yeah. Are you gonna send those flowers to her?
Just don't worry about that. You don't concern yourself with that.
I don't even know. So guys, okay, first of all, we've been on here a lot longer than we usually are, but it was a great interview.
And I thank y'all for hanging in there with us. The chat, like, I really, really, really appreciate that. This was a big one for us. And I put in work for this. I just want y'all to know that. This ain't just pop up.
Yes. So so I think we'll save the dating tips. Let's save our dating tips for Friday.
Okay.
I'm excited about Friday because
Never
ever mess. I had a chance to talk to Taronda.
Okay.
And I'll have little snippets of that interview in our live on Friday. So you guys, this is gonna be a super exciting season. There's already a lot of juicy tidbits being shared, but like I said, I'm gonna bring some snippets of that interview on Friday. Right. And I think that we're gonna watch every Friday night. Not watch, but you guys watch, and then we're gonna talk about we're going to dissect the episode every Friday night, right?
We always do.
Yeah, right. But we're gonna get into it because there's 7 couples, and I think we will have the opportunity to really go a little harder on what is going on. So you guys definitely tune in. We're going to have a lot of fun.
And share, subscribe, like.
Make sure that you guys like this, because we had 800 people in the chat at one point. Please make sure that you like this, like the chat and share it. And then, so the Never Ever Mets is a new show that's on OWN. It airs Friday at 8 p.m. And Friday at 8 p.m. And then we're going to be on 10 o'clock. Basically it's taking the time slot of Ready to Love. 10 o'clock, Taronda Jones is the host. 7 couples, and there's one couple that had not met in 12 years. So I'm not even going to get into that. We will go over it on Friday night, but this was entertaining. Make sure that you guys look in the chat. There is that link if you know anyone in Philly that is interested.
South Jersey, Delaware,
there's going to be a lot of masculine energy happening in Philly. I'm interested
lot of beards and
Yeah, a lot, and I like the beards. You know, I'm all for the beards. I'm all for the beards, and the what's the Timberlands, the beards and the Timberlands. I'm all for it. I'm with it. I got me beards and Timberlands at the house. Y'all hear me? It ain't from Philly though. It's from South Carolina. But but yeah, it's going to be interesting. We look forward to seeing you guys back here on Friday, and we may have another surprise for you coming up shortly. But we love you guys for watching. Please make
thank
sure,
y'all.
yes, that you like this on your way out. We love you guys, and we'll see you Friday.
All right, y'all. Oh, that was the wrong sound effect. Hold up. Oh, wrong upside down. Clap. Oh, okay.
On that note, good night. Good night.